Hi there, it's Matt here, and welcome back to the podcast. Here is the idea I want to begin with tonight. The memories you take into sleep can change the sleep you get out of it. Not just whether you sleep well in some vague psychological sense. More precisely than that, the things you learned, the experiences you valued, the emotions you carried, and perhaps most powerfully, the memories that felt good or bad may reach forward into the night and alter its biology, its depth, its rhythm, its dreaming, and even whether the night holds together or breaks apart. That is the reversal I want to explore. Because for a long time, we have known the story in the other direction. Sleep changes memory. Sleep stabilizes what you have learned. It strengthens some memories, weakens others, extracts rules, integrates new facts into old knowledge, and helps take the sharp emotional edge off difficult experiences. In that sense, sleep is not simply rest after learning. Sleep is part of the learning process itself. And it does this in several major ways. Deep, non-rapid eye movement sleep helps consolidate factual memories and restore the brain's capacity for new learning. Sleep spindles, those brief bursts of electrical activity in lighter, non-rapid eye movement sleep, appear to help move memories from temporary storage into longer-term cortical networks. Rapid eye movement sleep, rich in dreaming and emotion, helps process effective experiences, combine ideas in unusual ways, and recalibrate the emotional brain. Across the night, the sleeping brain is not switched off. It is sorting, strengthening, pruning, replaying, and reorganizing the record of the day. That much is now one of the most robust findings in sleep science. Sleep serves memory. But tonight, I want to turn that sentence around. What if memory also serves sleep? What if the day does not simply wait for sleep to arrive and be improved by it? What if the memories you formed during the day reach into the night and help construct the sleep itself? What if learning deepens sleep over the very regions of the brain that were used? What if important memories are preferentially replayed? And what if emotionally charged memories, good or bad, can steer the sleeping brain toward stability or toward awakening? That is the newer and more provocative idea. The night you are about to have is built in part from the memories you bring into it. So let's step back and build this carefully, because the final claim only becomes believable once the earlier evidence is in place. We'll begin with the older half of the story, how sleep helps memory. Then we'll reverse the arrow and ask how memory changes sleep. And finally, we'll arrive at the strangest possibility of all, that a good memory may help stabilize the night, while a bad memory may fragment it. In other words, tonight's question is not simply, what does sleep do for your memories? It is this: what do your memories do to your sleep? Start with the deepest, slowest brain waves you produce. The great rolling waves of deep sleep, the signature of the most restorative rest you get. Where do they come from? And why is one night deeper than the next? Here is a way to picture it before we get to the evidence. Think of a day of learning as writing across a page in ink. Every new thing you grasp presses a little harder, a little darker, until by evening, the page of your cortex is densely written over. Deep sleep, on the leading account, is the process that lifts that whole page back toward a lighter shade overnight, so that tomorrow has room to be written on at all. And the crucial implication is this: the more you wrote during the day, the more there is to lift. So a day of heavy learning should buy a night of heavier deep sleep, not as a reward, as a necessity. And it is worth being precise about why the brain bothers. A synapse that only ever strengthens is a synapse heading for trouble, a circuit that grows louder and louder until it can no longer tell signal from noise, with no room left to take on anything new. Strengthening is how you learn. Left unchecked, it is also how you saturate. The slow waves of deep sleep are the brain's answer to that problem. A gentle, system-wide turning down of the volume that protects what matters most while clawing back headroom for tomorrow. You wake not merely rested, but with a cleaner page. And that cleaner page is the whole point of the exercise. For a long time, that was an elegant idea and no more. What turned it into something you can actually watch is a beautifully simple experiment. Take a learning task that leans hard on one small specific patch of the brain, teaching the hand and arm to adapt to a world that has been subtly rotated. Have people learn it, then sleep with dense sensors mapping the entire scalp. The deep sleep waves that night do not rise everywhere. They rise locally over precisely the patch of cortex the learning used, and nowhere else to the same degree. And the size of that local deepening predicts how much sharper the person is at the task the next morning. Learn with one part of your brain, and that part of your brain sleeps more deeply that night. This is not a one afternoon curiosity. Put children and teenagers through 3 weeks of demanding memory training, then record their sleep, and the same fingerprint appears. A local deepening over the exact region the training recruited, scaled to how much they improved. From a single task to 3 weeks of practice, from the adult brain to the growing one, the principle holds. And here is the cleanest proof that this is genuinely about use. Instead of training a region, do the reverse. Take one out of service. Immobilize a person's arm for a day, so the strip of cortex that runs that arm falls quiet. That night, the deep sleep over that strip of cortex does not rise. It drops in proportion to how much the arm went unused. So the night is not deepened by effort in some vague general sense. It is shaped region by region by what each part of your brain actually did. More use, deeper sleep. Less use, shallower sleep. The map of your day is redrawn in the dark as the map of your night.
So for, it must be at least a decade now, I have been an avid, probably more like rabid consumer of protein shakes. But the hard thing, honestly, in the supplement space, if you really understand and do your diligence, is this critical thing called trust. It is very hard to find a brand that you can truly trust. That's when I came across the company Puri and the really impressive founder. Even though I'm sure it makes them less profit versus other quick and loose companies, Puri takes quality more seriously than any company I've ever seen before. They have so many offerings, protein powders galore, but lots of other additions, but that's what I was focusing on here. Why did I choose them? Well, it's really for 4 specific reasons. Number 1, they are free from hormones. Number 2, they are free from GMOs. Number 3, they are free of any pesticides. And number 4, and this is the critical confidence part, every single batch is third-party tested for over 200 harmful contaminants, things like heavy metals, etc. All you have to do if you are a neurotic nerd like me, you can even scan the QRI code on the back of the product to get the third-party independent laboratory test results. That's how much trust and confidence they place in their product. By the way, if you want a recommendation, go for the dark chocolate flavored protein powder. It's just exceptional. In fact, it's wonderfully addictive. I didn't just say that. Anyway, it delivers 21 grams of protein per serving. And for folks of my podcast right now, you can save 20%. So go over to puri.com/Matt Walker, and that is spelled PUORI.com, Matt Walker. So again, that is PUORI.com/Matt Walker, and you will get 20% off your product.
Deep waves are only the start. Learning leaves its mark on nearly every feature of the sleep that follows. Consider sleep spindles, brief, beautiful bursts of brain activity that flicker through lighter sleep. Thousands of them across a night, like quick stitches drawn through fabric. For years, they were treated as background texture, with no particular tie to the day before. That was wrong. Have people learn a long list of word pairs before bed, then compare that night against a carefully matched one. Same screen, same visual effort, same mental strain, but no real learning. The learning night carries more spindles, not because the eyes worked harder, but because of the learning itself. And the denser the stitching, the better the recall the next day. Swap words for a skill learned by the hands, and the answer holds. After intensive practice, lighter sleep lengthens and its spindles multiply. Two different kinds of memory, the same result. It helps to know what a spindle actually is. It is a brief, self-contained burst of synchronized electrical activity, a little wave that swells and fades inside a second or two, generated deep in the brain and broadcast upward across the cortex. Each spindle looks like a small window in which the brain carries a fragment of the day's learning from temporary holding into something more permanent, stitch by stitch. So a night that runs more of them after you have studied is not idly decorated. It is the sound of the filing being done. Go deeper into the night, into dream-rich sleep, and there is an old and slightly improbable finding waiting. Follow students through an intense run of examinations, a real-world siege of learning, and the amount and intensity of their dreaming sleep climbs above their baseline, and it scales. Take English speakers and drop them into 6 weeks of immersive French. The ones who learned the most, whose fluency came on fastest, showed the largest expansion of rapid eye movement sleep. The harder and more successfully you learn, the more your dreaming sleep grows to meet it. I'll be honest and say this is a relationship rather than a lever you can simply yank. More learning travels with more rapid eye movement sleep, but the direction is consistent and it is striking. There is something almost touching in that. The dreaming brain does not hand out the same fixed ration of rapid eye movement sleep to everyone who opens a book. It scales its effort to the effort you made, expanding most for the people who learn the most. Your night, in this small way, keeps an honest account of your day, not rewarding ambition so much as matching it, supplying just as much of its strange dream machinery as the day's learning seems to ask for. And it is not only the named features that learning touches, it can reorganize the very flow of the night. Give older adults a verbal learning task in the evening just before bed and then watch them sleep. You might expect a brain stirred up by study to settle less easily. The opposite happens. The post-learning night is more settled. Fewer of the brief awakenings that fragment older sleep and more complete, intact sleep cycles. A spell of learning before lights out left their sleep more whole, not less. The field now treats it as established that what you learn before sleep reshapes the architecture and the quality of the sleep that follows. The relationship really is a two-way street. So learning changes the shape of sleep. But something more intimate is going on inside that reshaped night. The specific things you learned are not just influencing the night from the outside, they are being played again within it. You can see this in the human brain directly. Have people learn a demanding finger sequence task while a scanner records which regions light up, then scan them again while they sleep. The regions most active during the learning switch back on during the night, and far more so in the people who actually trained than in those who did not. The day's exact circuit lit up again in the dark. Change the task to finding your way around a virtual town, and the replay shows up in deep sleep instead. The very regions you used to learn the route fire again, and the more they do, the better you navigate that town the next day. If that feels almost too neat in people, the cleanest version comes from listening to single cells in a rat. Deep in the brain sit place cells, or neurons that fire only when the animal is in one particular spot in the world. Keep the rat away from a given cell's special place, and the cell stays quiet in sleep. Let the rat visit that spot so the cell fires while it is awake, and now that same cell fires more during the sleep that follows, when before it was silent. Record a whole crowd of these cells while the rat runs a track, and the pairs that fired together out on the track show a heightened tendency to fire together again in the deep sleep afterwards, a tendency that simply was not there in the sleep before the run. The pattern of the day is re-expressed as a pattern in the night. Sit with that for a moment because it is genuinely extraordinary. The track the rat ran in the afternoon is traced out again in the dark, cell by cell, in the right order, with no track there at all, the animal lying perfectly still. The sleeping brain is not merely noting that something happened to it that day, it is rehearsing exactly how the thing unfolded in its original order. A recording, not a summary, a memory rehearsing itself in an empty room. Whatever else it is for, it is proof that the day's experience has reached forward and seized the controls of the sleeping brain, deciding which neurons speak and in what order. And the brain is choosy about what it rehearses. It does not give every memory equal billing. Have people play 2 games before sleep, one richly rewarded, one not, while tracking the brain's activity. During the deep sleep that follows, the pattern belonging to the rewarded game is replayed preferentially over the other one. Think of it as overnight triage. The sleeping brain has a limited budget of replay, and it spends that budget on the experiences it has flagged as worth the effort, letting the trivial ones fade. The value you attached to something during the day helps decide how loudly it is replayed at night. The brain rehearses what mattered. Hold on to that last point. The brain rehearses what mattered because it is the hinge on which the whole episode now turns.
A partner for today's episode is AG1. I've been using AG1 for quite some time now, and just for the record, I buy it myself to stay away from any of those trappings of free product. AG1 has just released the new formulation, which is AG1 Next Gen. It's still 1 scoop once a day, but now comes with many upgraded probiotics, plus additional vitamins and minerals. I also explored their 4 human clinical trials to prove out their efficacy, with the data showing a marked boost in healthy gut bacteria. And that's the thing. I appreciate how AG1 keeps adapting to new scientific findings. They have made many formula changes over the years, and each new iteration keeps it at the cutting edge of this space. As I've mentioned, I began my AG1 journey over 4 years ago. Any company that holds their scientific rigor to the flames of clinical trials means a lot to me. So subscribe today to try the next gen of AG1. If you use the following link, you'll also get a free bottle of AGD 3K2, as well as an AG1 welcome kit and 5 of the upgraded AG1 travel packs with your first order. So make sure to check out drinkag1.com/Matt Walker. That's drinkag1.com/Matt Walker.
Everything so far says the same thing. Memory shapes sleep and is replayed inside it. But there has always been a deeper question hiding underneath, and until very recently, it was genuinely open. Does that replay merely ride along inside the night, a passenger? Or does it take the wheel? Does reactivating a memory actually change what the sleep does next? Only this year, in mice, that question got a remarkable answer. The approach was bolder than simply eavesdropping on replay. It became possible to find specific memory traces in the sleeping brain and then deliberately switch them on and off, and to watch what the sleep did in response. And what the sleep did was follow the memory. When the memory being replayed was of a good experience, sleep was supported and stable. When the memory being replayed was of a bad one, it lit up a circuit running from the memory center to the brain's emotional alarm, and that reactivation tipped the animal toward waking, fragmenting the night. Same brain, same animal. The only thing that changed was the emotional color of the memory being played. A good memory set fair weather over the night. A bad one brought the storm. And then comes the part that turns a beautiful result into a meaningful one. Take mice worn down by chronic stress, whose sleep is broken in exactly the way stressed sleep tends to be. reach in and quiet that one thing, the replay of the bad memory, and their sleep moves back toward normal. The disturbance was not coming out of nowhere. It was being generated in part by a sleeping brain returning again and again to a bad experience and waking itself up over it. Quiet the replay and the night repairs. Now, I want to be careful and honest about what this is, because the honesty is part of the science, not a footnote to it. This is a single piece of work, only just published, and it was done in mice, not in people. It would be a mistake to walk away tonight certain that your own bad night after a hard day is this exact mechanism ticking away. But it does not stand alone, and that is what gives it weight. It sits on top of everything we just walked through, the decades of work showing the brain reactivates specific valued memories in sleep, that the day's experience reaches in and changes the firing, the rhythms, the very architecture of the night. What this new work adds is the final arrow that closes the loop. The reactivated memory does not just get processed by the night, it feeds back and steers the night. Memory and sleep were never a one-way service. They are a conversation. And we are not left to guess entirely from the mouse. Bring this same question into a human sleep laboratory, and you can watch a version of it play out in people. Take healthy volunteers and just before bed, gently steer them into a particular emotional state, a warm, happy frame of mind one night, a low and sad one another, then measure the sleep that follows. The mood they carried to bed reached straight into the night. After the happy mood, they fell asleep faster than usual. And here is the part that overturns the obvious guess. After the sad mood, they fell asleep faster too. And their dreaming sleep grew denser and more active than on an ordinary night. That sounds backwards until you see what is actually doing the work. It is not whether the feeling is pleasant or painful. It is how stirred up it leaves you. A quiet sadness is a settled, low-energy state, and it eases the body toward the threshold of sleep. What holds you at that threshold, wide awake at the gate, is not sadness. It is activation, the wired, racing, problem-solving mind. Worry pulled up to the bedside will keep you awake. A calm melancholy, strangely, will not. So a hard day breaks your sleep, not simply because it made you feel bad, but because of the particular flavor of bad it left behind. Whether it left you grieving and still or churning and switched on. There is a clue in that denser dreaming too. The rise in rapid eye movement sleep after an emotional evening looks less like a side effect and more like work. The night reaching for the very machinery it uses to metabolize feeling and turning the dial up to meet what you brought home, which is the whole thesis of this episode, arriving from the emotional direction rather than the factual one. The night is built from what the day deposited in you, and it does not land the same way in every brain. In that same laboratory, the group the study was really built around, people whose emotional regulation simply runs differently, got no gift of faster sleep from a happy mood at all. For them, a bright, energizing feeling before bed kept them up because their systems answered it with too much activation rather than too little. The lesson is not that one response is right and the other broken. It is that the conversation between your day and your night is real enough to differ from person to person, that the same cheerful half hour before bed can be a sedative for one nervous system and a stimulant for another. That is the point I want to bring all the way home. A broken night after a genuinely bad day, thin, restless, the day still running behind your eyes, may not simply be stress in the broad and blunt way we often use that word. This work raises a more precise possibility and a far kinder one, that the sleeping brain is replaying a charged memory, that the replay is pulling on the emotional alarm, and that the broken sleep is the downstream consequence, not of weakness, not of a faulty brain, but of a brain doing its job a little too well, unable to leave an important memory alone. It is for now a possibility rather than a proven fact in humans, but it is a testable one and a humane one. It moves the problem out of the territory of personal failing and into the machinery of an organ doing precisely what it evolved to do. So, what do you actually carry out of all this and into your own days and nights? More than you might think, though I'll be straight with you about where the evidence is solid and where it is still finding its feet. The first thing is the most quietly encouraging. Your deep sleep is not a fixed nightly ration handed out regardless of how you live. It is a response. A day of real, effortful learning measurably deepens the slow waves, multiplies the spindles, and expands the dreaming of the night that follows. If you want richer, more restorative sleep, give your brain something genuinely demanding to do while the sun is up. The night is built from the day, so build a good day. The second runs against a common worry. Many people believe that study or hard mental work in the evening will rev the brain up and cost them sleep. In older adults given a learning task right before bed, the night came back more settled and more intact, not less. So a spell of focused learning before lights out is not the enemy of sleep it is often made out to be, and may even help knit the night together. The third is about use. The brain deepens sleep over the regions you actually used and shallows it over the ones you let fall idle. An arm immobilized for a day buys shallower sleep over the cortex that runs it. Keep yourself in active use, body and mind. Disuse shows up in the night. The fourth follows from the brain's overnight triage. It preferentially replays what you flagged as mattering. You cannot directly program your dreams, but you do get a say in what you give weight and attention to as the day closes, and the brain carries that weighting into the night. The fifth is the gentlest, and the one I'd most like you to keep. If you have a broken night after a hard day, do not add a second injury by treating it as a personal failure of sleep. The most honest reading of the science is that your brain may simply be working on something that mattered at the cost of your rest. That reframing is not just comforting. It points tentatively at where the real lever sits. The newest work suggests the disturbance rides on the emotional charge of the memory being replayed, which means the thing most worth tending before bed may not be the sleep at all. It may be the day and how settled you have managed to leave it. And a sixth, which falls straight out of that human laboratory work. When a hard day has followed you to bed, aim at the agitation, not the sadness. You do not have to talk yourself out of feeling low in order to sleep. A quiet, sad calm is no enemy of sleep onset. It is the switched on, churning, problem-solving mind that holds the gate shut. So the winding down process worth building is the one that lowers activation. Not feeling better, exactly, but becoming less wired. That last step into human life is still a hypothesis, and I won't dress it up as more. But the spine of all this is solid, and it has turned the old sentence on its head. We came in believing sleep is good for memory, and it is. We leave with its mirror image every bit as true and far less told. Your memories build your sleep. The night is constructed in part from what you learned and felt in the light. Tend the day, and you have already begun to tend the night. Thank you so much for listening. I really do appreciate you spending this time with me. Take good care of your waking hours. Give your brain something worth replaying, and then sleep a deep and sound sleep tonight. Bye for now.